The reports of the Penn State scandal are certainly disheartening and very saddening. However, as we can often do with difficult situations, we can learn some important leadership principles from their situation that perhaps we can apply to our own organization. The first principle we want to consider is to examine our culture. The report described Penn State's culture as, quote, the Penn State way that drove all the decision-making and behaviors within the organization, particularly with an overemphasis on one department, in this case, the athletic department. The report also described the culture as very closed, not open at all to dissenting views or any diversity of thought. So what we can learn from this is to ask ourselves some questions about our own culture. First of all, do we have an open culture? Do we have a culture that welcomes and embraces differences of thoughts and particularly dissenting opinions? Do we also have appropriate systems and structure within our culture that allow and encourage employees to come forward to voice their opinions and concerns? The second tenet or principle that we can learn from Penn State is to empower our human resources function. The human resources function was described at Penn State as one that was mid-level and did not have authority over other department heads. And furthermore, there was a centralized HR manager, but then there were other HR representatives and staff scattered throughout the university in different colleges and departments. So there was no cohesion in the human resources function, which resulted in a lack of accountability and consistency. So we can learn from this by considering appointing the HR function and structuring it at a fairly high level in the organization so that it has responsibility and authority, but also one that we hold accountable throughout our entire organization. The third principle is to act. Penn State, first of all, did not have adequate reporting processes that encouraged and allowed employees to report inappropriate behavior. Further, those who did felt like they had to leave the organization because they were going to be fired. Other employees just simply didn't report the behavior out of fear of being fired. So making sure that not only we have those processes in place, but then when we hear the complaint or concern, we investigate it and we take corrective action. It's the employee's responsibility to report behavior, but it's the responsibility of organizational leadership to take responsibility for investigating it and taking corrective action. In the next edition, we'll be discussing some supervisory techniques for dealing with difficult employees.